Good morning, everyone. Thank you for waiting. My name is Mariama Kabia, and I'm the Senior Associate for Youth Engagement at Women Deliver. And I am so excited to welcome you to this session, the last day of Girls Not Brides, 9 a.m. Thank you for coming. The title of the session is Youth Deliver, Youth Leading the Fight to End Child Marriage. At Women Deliver, I have the distinct pleasure of working with over 700 young leaders from around the world, all engaging in advocacy projects, as Women Deliver is an advocacy organization that focuses on gender equality and the health, rights, and well-being of girls and women. Sitting here to my left are two amazing young leaders from the classes of 2013 and 2016, respectively. We have Shaikat from Bangladesh, and we have Isatou Bittaye from the Gambia. If you could please give them a round of applause. So before we officially start this session, I would just like to note that per Girls Not Brides sessions, we have Slido where you can evaluate this session and where you can ask questions. So the instructions are on the wall, but you want to open the browser, go to Slido, and then enter the code that's written on the board. And we are in room 303. Okay, so let's get started. Let me do some short bios first, and then we really want this to be conversational, so we plan to allow for Q&A. So as you hear from the panelists, please start thinking of questions, burning questions that you want to ask them about their work. So first, we have Shaikat. So Shaikat leads SERAC-Bangladesh. It's a youth organization that's advocating and implementing programs on child marriage and gender-based violence prevention in Bangladesh. So many achievements Shaikat has. I'm going to distill them to 3 for you right now, and I'm sure he can tell us more about his work during the conversation. So for advocacy, Shaikat was elected to the UN Habitat Youth Advisory Board. He was also instrumental in a child marriage prevention law in 2015 in Bangladesh. And lastly, he instituted the world's first national youth conference of family planning. And overall at SERAC, Bangladesh, and also just as a Women Deliver young leader, with his leadership, young people in Bangladesh are progressing by learning and standing by and protecting the rights of others. So please give a hand for Shaikat. As I mentioned, we also have Isatou. So Isatou is a feminist and human rights advocate with surprisingly over a decade of experience in community organizing and advocacy around gender equality and sexual and reproductive health and rights. She's communications manager for the Girls Agenda, leading young women to end gender-based violence and harmful practices in the Gambia. Like Shaikat, several accomplishments, so I'm going to keep it very brief for the intro. She previously served on the National Council for Civic Education in the Gambia and has led projects that have educated citizens in the Gambia about civic engagement. She lives in New York, so I know her very well as a Women Deliver intern, but also has had notable internships in New York, has a BSc in political science from the University of the Gambia, and a Master of International Studies from the, let me get this correctly, the National Chengchi University in Taiwan. Excellent. And so Isatou is passionate about empowering girls. So I'm so excited to be leading this conversation today. Let's actually do ladies first. Isatou, could you please share with us how you got involved in advocacy in the first place?
Thank you, Mariama. Good morning. Thank you very much for coming. My involvement in advocacy started as a result of a personal experience. When I was 14, I experienced menage. That was my first period. And because of the cultural taboos in the Gambia, most parents don't talk to their children about sexuality education. They don't talk to them about issues that pertain to their bodies. So when I experienced that, I was very shocked because I was confused. I didn't know what was going on. I never had any knowledge about sexual and reproductive health rights. apart from the family life education that is taught in school, Gambia, we don't have people telling us about our bodies, how to prevent ourselves from adolescent risks, such as teenage pregnancy, child marriage, STIs, and all issues that adolescents face. So out of that, I didn't know what to do, but fortunately for me, in my school, I found out that there was a peer health education club that was educating students and young people about health, about STIs and other issues that they need to know. So upon finding about the club, I joined the club, and then receiving information about all these issues, I started going to schools to educate my peers about sexual and reproductive health rights, how to prevent themselves from adolescent risks and challenges. Then I realized that there were thousands of girls in the Gambia with similar experience like mine. That motivated me to join the campaign. I continued as a peer health educator, going to schools, going to communities through drama and engaging my peers throughout high school. Then when I got to university, together with some friends, we founded an organization, a young women-led nonprofit called the Girls Agenda, where we champion the rights of girls and young women in the Gambia. We advocate to end all harmful traditional practices, gender-based violence, and promoting girls' education. That is how I got to be involved in this movement, and still now I am part of it. That's my motivation. That's what led me to be part of advocacy.
Thank you, Isatou. What's really interesting about how you got involved with advocacy is you first started as a beneficiary, but now you're able to share, your knowledge with other girls. Is there anything that surprised you about making that transition?
Yeah, there is. Because when I started, I never thought that I was going to be part of the people educating others. I thought I was just going to experience, to receive the knowledge, and that was it. But I realized that it's something that if you are in it, you realize the issues are deeply rooted in your culture. You realize that there is a lot of work to be done that push you to even go beyond something that you never expected that you were supposed to go into.
Great, thank you. Let's actually flip the script to take a trip to Bangladesh with Shaikat. So Sam, how did you get involved in advocacy, specifically around these issues?
Okay, the first I start with my challenges. This is what motivated me to join this movement. I was quite like 16 when I used to, concentrate on the newspapers, and every day until today, I think my colleagues here from Bangladesh are also present in front of me. They would agree with me that they find a lot of violence against women and girls every day on the newspapers, and a lot of those cases go, unnoticed. At the same time, go without justice. So I tried to see like what is the root causes behind all these kind of violences. There must be some kind of commonalities. And over a month I collected all the news clips and everything. And I studied all these things, and I found like quite like more than 80% of the violences had a root cause to dowry and child marriage. So dowry is a custom that in our part of the world in South Asia is mostly common, and then people are girls and women are challenged with this this kind of a trouble, a problem when their marriage and other social customs come. So what I did, I talked to my friends and peers, and let's start a campaign that talk against it. And what happens, like, when you talk to the boys, mostly, they, oh, these are girls' issues. What do you do with that? And I tried my level best to motivate them, but I failed. And then I decided I should move alone, and I like kind of designed my own poster. I printed them out, and I in the evening when after my studies and all my other business, I went on and like stickering them on the walls. in the communities. And every next day, I used to like walk by all those posters and notice if people are noticing those things. I was like counting on, like a passerby, if anyone is looking at, and if somebody is, and then I would ask like, what do you think about it? Do you think you can also join them or anything? So I also tried to send those kind of posters and communication to all the NGOs in Bangladesh, and because I didn't have the knowledge of the strategic communication and things, some of the organizations who didn't have any strategic priority of gender-based violence prevention or anything, they just reacted to me like, hell. Why do you send us this kind of communications? This is not relevant to us. I was thinking like, okay, any organization should integrate gender-based violence prevention and this kind of advocacy into their systems and programs. This should be something not just a program but a movement, and it has to be like integral part of each and every organization, and it should be in the values of all organizations. That was my feel when I was like 16 and 17. But now many of those organizations have started thinking differently. They have started changing their values, adopting new things. But in those days, it was really demotivating for a adolescent boy to start a movement and expecting the big players in the field to accept it. So that was my start, and then I continue, then Facebook came in Bangladesh, and we tried to communicate across the country. We created Facebook groups, pages, any way we wanted to, get the young people on board and stand against those violence against women and girls. So I can give you an example of what we did. So there was a young girl who was thrown acid. I was a victim of acid violence in her home, and the police didn't do anything. So we called the police. Like the strategy was, we collected the numbers of all the police officers in the area, and we shared that on our Facebook group and asked everyone to call them. So like people from different districts are calling this one single officer and asking, what are you doing? What are you doing? And this guy is like, what the hell? How do you know it? Like you are calling from a distant district like Jessore, or you're calling from Barisal, which is like 300 kilometers away. No one knows what happened here. And, like people, from the nearby districts do not call me, and how do you go? So they felt like this become an, national issue. So, and I still remember the head of the police in the district, he called me in the midnight and said, we got him, and we're making sure he's not getting out with anything. So so that was the impact the young people could make, not even being, going there in person, but we could do virtually, we could do even with a phone call. So this is the collective movement thing that we started, and I guess you have a couple of other questions for me, so I'm saving some of my other words. So that was my start, and I'm trying to keep motivating my peers and my fellow young people that you start with your own first. Bring the change on your own first. Otherwise, you cannot expect that everyone in the room will stand up with you, because you have to stand up first.
Thank you so much, Shaikat. What's interesting about both of the movements you've led is that they are very much peer-led. So you're leading them, but then you've also built organizations around you that are also youth-led. So I'm wondering if you can talk about what that's been like. So one, working in a youth-led, peer-led space, and then building organizations that have that same energy and ethos. We can start with Isatou.
Thank you. That's an interesting question, because we realize throughout this movement that young people are making real impact in their communities, but most of the time it's not being felt it's actually impacting in the communities, but the visibility, it's not out there, because sometimes young people, most of the people that have the resources don't feel the need to invest in young people. But youth-led movements are making real change in their countries. In the Gambia, for example, we have youth-led organizations that are doing activities, that are doing advocacy work that even established organizations are actually not doing. Established, fully funded organizations can't do. So that tells you that young people have the power to effect change, and they're actually making it. In my organization, the Girls Agenda, what we're doing to end child marriage, we are at the forefront of ending all harmful practices in the country. We establish programs that target girls because we believe that for child marriage to end, girls need to be at the center. For the world to develop, young people need to be at the center of development. That's why most of our programs, we start with young people. We target the girls. We have an annual girls camp that we organize where girls are empowered with information because we believe if girls don't have the crucial information that they need related to SRHR, related to violence, related to all these issues, including leadership development and civic participation, all these issues are interconnected. It will be difficult for them to escape child marriage, for them to realize their potentials, for them to thrive and develop as capable people. That's why we start with the girls, and through this empowerment camp, we are seeing progress because the girls themselves have started talking about these issues. They have started joining the clubs that exist in their schools. They have also started to be engaged in the organizations that train them, including the Girls Agenda. Through the support of partners, we've trained almost 500 young people in the Gambia, girls, through this camp. Also, in the Gambia, young people are working with religious leaders because we realize that religion has a huge influence when it comes to harmful traditional practices such as child marriage and female genital mutilation. And the misconceptions need to be demystified for people to understand that it's not compulsory in religion because religion does it subject people to harm, and FGM, it's something that subject people to harm. Child marriage is also something that will subject the girls to harm because there might be complications when girls deliver at the age of 16 or 17, which is affecting their growth and development. So we target the traditional institutions, the religious institutions, and we believe in the concept of young people first. Instead of going with the imams or the elder people, we go to exclusively Islamic institutions because we believe young people are the change. And we train the students that are learning the religion. They're going to Islamic schools, and we demystify, we give them the real facts through evidence-based approach. We bring survivors to tell their stories, to explain how these issues have affected them. And that is also working fine because most of the students have started doing activities that are led by themselves. They do step-down activities, they engage their families, they engage their peers in their own communities based on the knowledge that they have received. And we believe that those people, when they grow up to become the imams, because that's what they learn in religion. So when they grow up, they will change instead of consuming, like they play a real role in the marriage in the Gambia. Muslim marriage is tied in the mosque, so those people are the one who actually tie the knot. But when they have the knowledge, they believe that it's something that is very harmful to the girls and health and of girls and women. They will help in making sure that they make critical decisions before tying a marriage that is against the rights of the girls. It's abused because the girl is under 18 and it's something that is not supposed to be done. It's a human rights violation. That's something that we have been doing. Also, through the movement, other youth organizations have also been using various means of reaching out to the communities, especially on social media, because we believe technology has a great role in influencing public awareness and all that. So we have young people in the Gambia who are using technology very wisely. We engage with musicians. They will produce albums. They will produce songs on gender-based violence. And these things are released on YouTube, SoundCloud. We have a sister organization called Think Young Women. They engage artists, musicians, and these people are popular musicians. They have huge following in the Gambia who are young people, and they all part of the campaign. They have started speaking up to talk about these issues themselves, the musicians themselves. And in terms of advocacy, we are also engaging with political leaders. At the Girls Agenda, we had a campaign, we had a dialogue with women politicians, because we believe we cannot just have the laws that are not implemented because of lack of political will. So we think that these women leaders are very influential in making sure we get the political will. So we mobilized and have hosted a dialogue of 52 women leaders in the Gambia. And through the dialogue, they were able to come together and produce a declaration calling for the government to have strong political will to enforce the laws that are affecting the health, rights, and well-being of girls and women, such as child marriage, female genital mutilation, and sexual violence. These and many others are things that young people are doing in the Gambia with little resources. So you know that if young people have the resources, they have the support, they can make real change, because youth-led movements are doing real change in terms of all these issues that are happening in the world. So the world needs to just invest in young people and trust their capabilities that they can do it.
No, thank you so much, Isatou. And it's interesting, when I think of your work, Shaikat, there are some parallels, especially when I'm thinking of civic engagement. Could you walk us through what it was like to advocate against that child marriage law?
Okay, I'm taking her last word, which is trusting young people. You know, this is really a crisis that we do not trust young people enough. And even if we say we trust you, we actually have something behind our, somewhere our head. Do we really trust this guy? Or do they have this capacity? I'm bringing you some, very recent example. Then I go back, a couple of years back. So we were thinking, like, when there was International Conference on Family Planning, so there was nothing like this in Bangladesh. So especially for young people, and I discovered there was nothing like this. Like, there's no national conference on family planning ever anywhere in the world. So we designed one of that. Like, it should happen. It may happen in Bangladesh. And I reached out to a number of organizations who are working in sexual reproductive health services, rights, and advocacy and communication. And most of them, they said the idea is amazing, and then finally one of them came up with what, you cannot do it. So the best is, what you do a small workshop, and that's the best thing, and we can give you some technical support to that. I mean, that's appreciated. And this is where young people has to be strategically, sound, that they must take this offer. Okay, fine. Please join us with your technical expertise for the workshop. And end of the day, when we really took the challenge to organize the National Youth Conference on Family Planning, we actually announced it, and then they saw all this concept note, all the session details, and every plan and program, logistics, and everything was ready right there. But the resources were so limited that we literally had to struggle with, even with the food in the beginning. But then the large organizations felt like, okay, they are actually going to make it happen. So how about without us? So that's not good. Sounds good. So, and then they joined. Then they trusted in us. Some of them, actually, like few of them. In the next year, UNFPA joined us. UNFPA was observing the first conference. Is it happening really? The next year, they joined us as the lead partner. And for this year, USAID offered us, we're going to join you this year with all we have, anything we have. So look, when you start, you might get some demotivating, ideas, but then you have to be strategic. You have to be clever enough to get those ideas and offers in, and with your very limited resource and an idea, anything you have, the manpower and the people you have, and trust in your peers. None of these people joined the International Conference on Family Planning. They never knew, like, how does it go, like the Family Planning Conference or anything. But they made it happen. Those 30 young people, they did it. They organized it well. And they did it for the second time. And we're preparing the largest one this year. And can you believe that this motivated many of the global organizations to offer us like, can we host like an international summit on family planning and youth? And as a Richard? I said, well, we're thinking about. So look, things coming bigger gradually. It doesn't come by one night. And you have to wait for the right moment and right opportunities. Now, I'm going back to what about the child marriage law and how these strategic communication things worked and didn't work. So SERAC and my team, we always emphasize where we failed. We identify where our ideas didn't work. And there is the real, learning and lesson that we can, we may replicate the good things, okay? That's very easy and everyone does it. So you know what? We can count down each and everyone in the room, but we cannot count down each and everyone outside the room at a time. So our coverage is the positive notion, but at the same time, we have to keep in mind the many people we couldn't cover. So no data, no research shows like you have covered like thousands of people, but you never see, I couldn't cover thousands of people. See, so the couldn't, or you didn't, or like you failed to, those are your learnings. So that's what our motivation, we sit and discuss where we failed. We don't get angry on people like, oh, you failed it, oh, you're fired. No, you failed it, and others learn why that person failed and how we can overcome. So in the child marriage advocacy, it started in early 2013. I remember when the government started the process to revise the 1929 Child Marriage Act, which is like a century old. I don't actually exactly remember like any of the juries that time, like they even are alive. So the law was there, but it wasn't implemented well. And at the same time, some of the provisions were so, like weak that the punishment was like $12. If I can convert in dollars, the punishment was $12. So if a girl is married off and then their parents are fine, they just can, pay like $12. And there are other punishments, but the case in the context of social context and everything, they don't actually put want to put the parents in the jail. So that's not happening in there. So government's initiative to revise the law was a good one, but at the same time, there was one bad idea, which was including one special provision kind of thing, which allowed the parents and the guardians, as their legal guardians, to marry a girl at 16. And with this special provision is so unclear that the government couldn't yet make it clear. Even after passing the law in 2017, this is like mid-2018, they took 1.5 years and they couldn't yet come with the regulations specifying what are the special provision and special situations. So there are a lot of debates around that, but the law is still there. So, and I can say collectively, civil society organizations and young people, we all fought together. But maybe in that battle, we failed a bit. And we have to accept we failed to prevent the government including that provision. And we have to accept. Now what we do, because we are advocates, we are social communicators, we cannot change policies ourselves, right? We have to motivate the policymakers and them. But now what we can do is engage the communities more. Think, if you do not marry off your girl before 18, there is no law coming and say you have to marry off by 16, right? So the decision is pretty much subjective to the parents and guardians and community people. If the community decides not to marry off by before 18 or 20, 18 is just a minimum. Come on now, we do not stand by 18. But no law and police or government going to know everyone should be married off before 18. No one is going to. Better government to say it's good. So the community engagement is a case. So then we started designing new programs, and I can mention one of that is we are educating the young girls in one of the sub-districts in Mymensingh. It's a district in the eastern part of the country, where educating them how to write letters to the authorities. Look, they write letters for leave of absence, and they write letters for this kind of traditional letter writing, but they never write a letter specifying. So one young girl, adolescent girl, writing to administration authority that under this law, under section 4, you have the authority to prevent the child marriage that I am facing at this moment, or my friend is facing at this moment. Could you please stop and help us? Look at that. If you are in the position of a government official, you never find this kind of letter, handwritten letters by a girl of grade 8 and specifying the law itself. Come on. So we had to provide the resources and the templates to them. That's very easy. And they just put the templates and the blank spaces in, and they took it home and they're using it. So the government is like, okay, wow. So that's pretty much personalizing the issue, and you be strategic. I'll come back with another idea if I'm given another chance, just like or maybe over the question answer.
No, thank you so much. And I think what you've especially hit on, Shaikat, is the idea that youth have agency to actually advocate on specific policy change, but none of this happens in a bubble. So I'm thinking of your work, Isatou, working with elders and imams, and Shaikat, you working with, different agencies to help what you're doing. And I'm wondering if you could, we can actually start with Isatou on this one, can talk about who's collaborating with youth and how. And maybe for this audience, because I see a mixed bag of youth and people who work with youth and clearly care about youth, how can these organizations collaborate with your work and the work of other young people?
Thank you, Mariama. That's something very interesting to ask, because at the beginning of this advocacy, when young people normally start advocacy, they struggle a lot because of the lack of trust of institutions to invest in youth-led solutions, because most of the time these organizations don't believe that young people can make a change. But that usually change when the young people go out of their way to do something that brings results. At the Girls Agenda, when we started, we were using our own resources to do our own workshops to train girls in schools. But because we had the commitment, and I'm sure other youth organizations started the same way, now we are collaborating with UN agencies in the Gambia. UNFPA funded our Madrasa project, the one that I talked about earlier, that we have trained over 1,000 people. UNFPA is funding that. UNFPA is also funding other activities that we are doing. Together with our sister organization called Think Young Women, we hosted the training for young mothers, because through child marriage, most of the girls get pregnant before 20 and they drop out of school. They're vulnerable, they sit at home, they don't do anything. We feel that even though they're survivors, they need to take over their lives. So we train them to instill back home in them to do something. We also encourage their guardians and parents to at least support them to go back to school. And that project was funded by UNFPA. We also have collaboration with other organizations, such as international organizations. We have funding from the Girl Generation on our work on FGM. We had funding from Amplify Change on our work on child marriage. We also had funding from Global Fund for Women to talk about political participation, as well as engaging women leaders to call for political will to enforce the laws. We mobilized 52 women councillors and engaged them on the FGM law to strive and encourage the government, because those people are under the Women's Bureau, which is a government institution, to fulfill the law and enforce it to make sure that FGM ends in the Gambia. But because these institutions see our work, they have seen the projects that we have implemented in the past, that's why they trust us now to give us money to do those activities. We also collaborate among ourselves. Young people in the Gambia collaborate among themselves. And the way we collaborate, we jointly implement activities. We invite each other to support each other's activities. Like when Think Young Women have an activity, they invite TGA to go and do a presentation to train the girls. When the Girls Agenda have an activity, they also invite them to go and train the girls or train whoever the activity participants are. We are also collaborating with government, but at a minimal level, because they don't invest in us. But we are part of their committees we are part of the National Steering Committee Against Gender-Based Violence in the Gambia, where we sit and we are part of the decision making regarding how organizations that are working on gender-based violence in the Gambia can collaborate and strengthen their partnership to make sure we don't duplicate our work, to make sure we work together, and to ensure that these issues that we're talking about, for it not to be lip service, for the government to really show their commitment. So we sit on that committee together with other youth organizations in the Gambia, such as Think Young Women and Safe Hands for Girls. Also, we also collaborate with international organizations like Women Deliver. And the way we collaborate with them, it's by participating in their programs where we receive capacity building training through the online course, applying for seed grants, as well as speaking opportunities like this, where Women Deliver will bring us to global platforms to talk about issues that concerns us, because you cannot decide on issues that affect young people when they are not sitting where these decisions are made, when they're not sitting where those initiatives or solutions were curated. That's why we collaborate and we take the opportunity to participate in the Speakers Bureau to talk about our issues, participate in global meetings, as well as media engagements.
Excellent. Thank you, Isatou. And actually, speaking of Women Deliver Young Leaders, I wanted to shout out a few I see in the room. I see Umair here in the first row. I also see Isa. Hello. So glad that you're supporting each other. And then I know Shaikat has a colleague from his organization here. So I also think it's important that while we talk about collaborating with organizations, we're also talking about youth collaborating with other youth. But let me actually give the floor to you, Shaikat.
Okay. So I think Isatou has a very good background of collective efforts and collaboration, and I always, as I said, that I and my team learns from our failures, and where we couldn't do the success, we didn't make the success, and that makes us successful in the next stage. So there was a time when we literally struggled with funding and everything. But today in the organization, we can say like we have over 5,750 direct youth beneficiaries and people who are in our list across the country, not just in one place. And these people are advocating in their communities. So the message we are sending in those channels should be very clear, that when they reach the authorities to advocate, because they might not be that much expert, maybe as Isatou or maybe myself, but they must be given the chance and be trusted by other youth, as you said, that they grow up with the advocacy skills they need, and one day they can actually replace you. You must create that chair for that person, not just leaving your chair, but create another chair for the person who can really replace you one day, can actually cross you. And you have to make sure you as a young person, as a young leader, if you feel like you're a young leader, as Women Deliver calls a young leader, so we have the, like, you have like 700 of young people across the world, around the world. These young people, the 700 people, must create another 700 seats at least. So this is the motivation, the message that I want to convey to my fellow young leaders and the next classes upcoming and the ongoing ones. In terms of collaboration, trust building is really important. When you work, you be honest to what you are doing, and your motivation can motivate your donors and partners. If you are not motivated enough, your language, your statements are not strong enough, how would you believe? Like, for example, if I ask anyone, would you like to go to the Surya Kelsis with me? And this, maybe, I wouldn't be, counting on you, like, I'm gonna go shopping with this guy, because, somewhere in the middle of Surya Kelsis and convention center, he will get me lost, or he will get lost himself. So, so your statement must be that clear and that's strong enough that your partners and donors believe in you. So we SERAC works with a number of international and national partners. As I mentioned, we work with UNFPA, and I can also say proudly that the initiative that I mentioned, right, educating young girls how to write, is a very small initiative, but it has been supported by Women Deliver, and I'm so thankful. The Women Deliver team supported me with even ideation, even like management, and Women Deliver has been the school for myself and my team that that equipped us with the tools, with the management of programs, and the templates, the things we use at this moment. Many of those have been provided in earlier grants by Women Deliver, or somewhere we learn from the e-courses or other courses. So those we are using still now, and we are, our programs are, we know our indicators, we can track them. I can also mention another initiative that I also I quoted, which is we are targeting 20 schools in another 2 sub-districts, and the initiative was when we kind of failed with the law advocacy, then we decided in the organization, let's start designing programs for the young people, and from the it should be the bottom up something. So we started the bottom up approach. One initiative that we designed is why CSE doesn't is not much accepted in Bangladesh.
And could you just tell the audience what CSE is, just in case?
Comprehensive Sexuality Education. I'm sorry for these acronyms. But comprehensive sexuality education is already there in Bangladesh. There's policies and in the textbooks as well. But what happens in reality, if you go to schools, you'll find that those chapters are stapled up. Because the teachers never, they feel shy because they didn't have the background of CSE in their schooling. So you cannot just blame them, because in their generation, they didn't have this opportunity as we have. I didn't have CSE in my schooling. I had to learn this over the course of my development learning. But we cannot expect each and every other young person in Bangladesh, like of my age or my peers or my juniors, they have the comprehensive sexuality education. So, so this didn't work. And organizations, including SERAC, in different alliance and networks, we are literally struggling to push this agenda. Why should not teachers educate young people? Why shouldn't they be active? But at the same time, we felt the young people may not be interested in that kind of texting, because the texts are so formal, not funny. So a young person of like grade 6 or 7, they look something like they are more attracted to a cartoon or a comic book than a serious kind of textbook. You see, so that we designed something like we designed some tools. One of that is a snakes and ladder. We customized a snakes and ladders game. There's a board, and we included child marriage prevention information with as other SRH information, what basic CS is. You cannot include all these things on one board, but as much you can, as many snakes you have, as many ladders you have. So the idea is, like, if you are educated with menstrual hygiene, you have a better health. You get, the ladder to go up. And if you are married off at 15, you might end up with an early pregnancy. You're in the mouth of a big snake, and that will take you down. So people, when they play, they learn, and they cannot play it alone. So they have to play it with another peer. So automatically, we're tracking, like, if we're educating 500 young people, we're actually ensuring that there are 1,000 actually, because they have to play with another young person, and they are doing it. And we allowed them to take it home, not to keep it in the school. Because if we keep it in the school dormitory or cupboard, they will never be allowed to, get it again. Teachers will say, considering, studies, these are extracurriculars. They took it home, and they're playing with their parents as well, especially mothers. So when the mothers and girls, they are, playing this game, they're learning the same messages why you are in the face of as a big red snake. So the idea is to convey these messages in that grassroots where the change really needs to happen. And I'm so thankful that this idea has been, recognized and trusted by Amplify Change. This is important. When young people has millions of ideas, but some of them may not be that matured enough, but they must be supported, and with technical knowledge of experts, mentorship, that they grow up, they develop the idea into reality. Look, for every project, you have a vision or goal or objective, right? The goal is what? Your vision. You never know your dream comes true. It may not come true. You cannot ensure each and every project will, be successful. But you have some indicators to ensure scientifically it will be successful. But how you ensure that young people has that kind of knowledge and expertise to ensure, all these indicators are really, achieved. So for that, the larger organizations, the experts, they must trust in, and also not just trusting it, must also work with young people to build their capacity. Unless you cannot blame a group of people that they are not equipped enough when you are not supporting them to be equipped. So this is my message, and thank you.
No, but I mean, all of this is so important. Trust, being able to ideate, having support, building a community around you, engaging that community is also important. And I'm looking at the time, so we have enough time to give the audience a Q&A opportunity. Let's actually end this portion on one final question, because we've been talking a lot about youth and how to work with youth. So I'd like to ask each of you, what does meaningful youth engagement look like to you? How is it done right? Let's actually reverse. We'll start with Shaikat to throw off the
like me
rhythm.
speaking again and again, come on. But I'll be short. To me, the meaningful youth participation is ensuring everyone on board. So when you say ensuring everyone, you must also be careful, not just women and girls. There must be a transgender young person who we never count on. There must be a person with disability who is young, but they couldn't come just because of their, physical barriers. And you have to do your best to ensure they're on board, the best you can, and also make sure that the person you are bringing in the room, they're also being respected. So if they're not respected, you bring them for one day, and then they become tokenized. They never come back. So how you do it? First, you create the enabling environment. You work with your peers. Ensure that you do not stigmatize. And these are the values. So the value clarification is really important. I can really feel there are lots of people even in this room. We may not, my value might not, match with yours in many points. And it is okay. I might have different opinion. So in terms of meaningful participation, the commonalities of the values must be mapped and tracked, and how we can do it. And this how is not just how we say, the lip service, but we have to find out how. And make sure, look, one message that I want to share, that is, there are lots of sadist and pessimist people in development sector. I have personally experienced in my life, and I have also seen a lot of other young people are also facing the same thing from their would-be mentors or the seniors. This shouldn't be the case. When you are working with young people, ensuring their participation, make sure you're smiling face. You have a smiling face. Make sure you'll learn from the restaurants that the waiters and waitresses, they always be smiling. You be the facilitator, not be the boss of the young people. Come on. You cannot be the boss of like thousands of volunteers. The volunteers do not have a boss. You might be the boss of a couple of your, subordinate staffs, but You cannot expect like thousands of young people will be calling me sirs and my ma'am and ma'am, and I am the one who will be deciding you eat this, you not. Look, don't be authoritative. Give them the agency to decide, the freedom, not the freedom to do anything. I mean, like negative things, freedom to do all the positive things. And also you facilitate, give them ideas, and nurse their ideas. Otherwise, you will end up finding up, writing up a very nice report. I have trained up 2,000 young people, but those 2,000 young people are so sad. They're so sad. They were all the way thinking, if I grow up one day, I'll never be like that person.
No, this is so crucial because you're talking about inclusivity, but also partnership with young people. Partnership is so important. Isatou.
Yeah, I'll just take it from the partnership perspective because I believe when you talk about meaningful youth participation, young people should be seen as stakeholders rather than beneficiaries. You don't just bring young people to participate in events where they will just come and listen to you and go. Not like that. That's not meaningful youth participation. It's tokenism. You're bringing them to come and be the numbers, but they are not contributing anything that is meaningful. So to me, when I define the term meaningful youth participation, it's when young people are engaged from the beginning up to the finishing of any project, any decision making. You don't just invite one young person to a panel of 8 people and you just ask the person to talk about her experience or his experience. While the other panelists, you give them expertise question to talk about their expertise when young people just brush up, like they just brush around the issue. That's not meaningful youth participation. Meaningful youth participation to me is investing in youth-led organizations, youth-led solutions, trusting that young people have the capabilities, they can do the job. You give them the resources. Of course, you have to monitor and make sure like they meet your target, fulfill the requirements, but they need to have the independence to do the job. That's meaningful youth participation. To me, meaningful youth participation is making sure that young people are represented in decision-making platforms, in boards, in commissions, in task forces, where you have laws, where laws are formulated, where policy documents are drafted, because those issues, those platforms is where decisions affecting young people are held. If you have a committee to draft a constitution, you don't have any young person in that committee. How do you think the issues that will affect young people when that constitution is in place will be met? Sometimes it will not, because most of the people in that committee may not have the will to talk about issues that will move young people forward. So to me, meaningful youth participation is not just for young people to speak. That's not it. You have to trust them, you have to engage them, you have to involve them, and you have to see them as partners and stakeholders. Thank you.
Hear, hear. So powerful our sign fell down. Please, a round of applause for the panel. So at this point, we love to give the audience an opportunity to ask questions. I see a mic right there in the middle. So if you have a question, if you could walk up to the mic, that would be helpful. I see a few hands up. I saw yours first. Go ahead. And the mic is right there if you don't mind walking towards it, just so everyone can hear you. I know we're giving everyone an exercise today. I appreciate it.
Sorry. So I have the question to the young lady. You just mentioned you have a project where you engage almost 500 adolescent girls, right? So my question is, what about the boys? Because 25th, I'm sorry, it's 26th where I just visited the village and I observed 68 to 17 posters and I counted every posters and clicked every poster's photo. I just noticed that 59 posters, that means 59 organizations are working with the girls only. it's happened they are working with the boys, but it's little number. So my question is again and again, what about the boys? Because without them, we can conduct our community, right? So
Excellent
thank you.
question.
Thank you. That's very true because we can't do the work without our partners, and our partners are men, and the partners of the girls are boys. But with that project, it's the girls' empowerment camp because we think there are certain issues that you want the girls to know. They need the safe space. They need to be in an exclusive girls' environment where you will train them alone. For our girls empowerment camp, we train only girls. But in our organization, we engage boys as well. In the Madrasa project, we train 1,000 students. We have equal number of boys and girls in that project. When we go to the communities and organize community activities, we have men and women. When we host intergenerational dialogue for young people or adults and young people, we also have both men and women. But there are specific projects that girls need to be together to make sure that they learn. Because the issues we talk about, child marriage, we talk about menstrual hygiene management, we talk about how the girls need to understand their bodies, sexual and reproductive health rights. We feel it's important for them to be in their own space to understand the issues before they're able to maybe feel shy to talk about the issues in the presence of the men. Because these issues sometimes they're taught in schools, but they're not taught the way they're supposed to be because the teachers are men, or even if the teachers are women, the class is both men and girls, boys and girls. So you realize that the girls will feel shy to talk about their issues because the boys are there. That's why in that project we target girls exclusively. But in other projects, we have both boys and girls in our programs.
Very great question and great observation. For anyone who wants to ask a question, feel free to line up at the mic. That might be easiest for us to call from there. Sure, yes, please.
Okay. First of all, I commend that you both are doing a great work. My question is from Shaikat. As you know that in our area in the South Asia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India, a lot of the youth are in religious institution like madrasa, both boys and girls. So, are you engaging them in your activities? And what are their responses? As they were taught that early age marriages and a lot of things are according to Sunnah and Islamic laws. So, how you motivate them? The students, both boys and girls from madrasa.
Thank you. Nice question and very relevant. You know what? When we design something and we say the meaningful participation, I told you like you engage all the groups. Madrasa education has been in our part of the world has been there for centuries, and it's nothing, you know, and they have curricula of their own, and then they have their own kind of Islamic, you know, lessons integrated on all these things. And yes, it's true, when they're general educations in the general education schools, they, you know, staple up those CS education chapters. I would really not expect that the madrasa would be more open than them in a country like Bangladesh. But what we did, when we selected like 20 schools for one project, then we decided like take some madrasas from the area. So from each of the sub-districts, we engaged, I believe, 30% of the madrasa students. And they also include both madrasa boys and girls together. And that is another approach, that we integrate them, break the silence. Okay, you don't talk about menstrual hygiene in front of boys, okay? So they never know how to respect a girl when they are having periods, support a girl, or be, you know, not stigmatizing towards a girl. If you do not break the silence ever, and if you feel that the time hasn't come yet, the time will never come. So we did engage them and provided the same kind of lessons and learning sessions with them. We conduct same things, and we found tremendous responses from them, Because earlier our facilitators thought they would be more rigid, more, they wouldn't be more friendly. But we found they wanted to know. And the sad thing is most of our development programs miss them. They don't find them in the bigger picture. They are made a minority somehow, but they are a large group of population. And when they graduate, they come up with values. Sometimes they contradict with our development messages. And then it becomes a problem in our society. Then we say all the madrasa education is bad. But we never tried to go and tell them, go and educate them. We feared going in. We only went to the mostly organized kind of education facilities, the general education facilities, English medium facilities, because honestly speaking, there are a lot of tokenistic youth engagement and adolescent programs I have seen in my life with a very short time. But it is still there, and new programs are also being developed that they even do not still care about that there is a large group of people in the madrasas and they must be involved. So if I responded your question well, or you think are you clear, or is it okay? Okay.
Oh, good question. Thank you.
Moi, j'irai en français. D'abord, je suis un peu désolé de ne pas voir dans le panel des francophones, pour qu'on ait vraiment des exemples de mouvements. Enfin, moi, je suis Élysée, je viens du Bénin, de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, et ce n'est pas une question en tant que telle, mais c'est en même temps pour contribuer à ce qui se fait aussi dans les pays francophones. Je sais qu'il y a beaucoup d'autres pays, le Niger et autres, le Mali, qui sont là. Nous, au Bénin, par exemple, notre pays, le Bénin, s'est engagé dans la campagne Tolérance Zéro de l'Union africaine en 2004. Mais dès qu'elles ont fini le sommet, rien ne s'est fait. Jusqu'en 2016. Et en 2016, les organisations de jeunes ont eu l'écho que voilà, il y avait tel engagement du gouvernement pour mettre fin au mariage des enfants. Et rien n'est fait jusque-là, 2 ans après. Et donc, on a saisi l'occasion de la journée de l'enfant africain en 2016, le 16 juin 2016, pour faire de grandes activités de mobilisation sociale, d'interpellation du gouvernement avec le soutien de l'UNICEF. C'était un grand événement et c'est ça qui a réveillé le gouvernement. C'est la mobilisation des jeunes qui a réveillé le gouvernement par rapport à l'engagement. Et nous avons vraiment eu un fort soutien de l'UNICEF qui nous a aidés, qui nous a poussés à interpeller. On avait l'UNICEF avec nous, la ministre des Affaires sociales dans le temps. Le gouvernement s'est impliqué et ça a déclenché en même temps au niveau du gouvernement des actions, la mise en place de plans, la mobilisation des fonds. Aujourd'hui, on a une loi qui punit les parents qui marient leurs enfants. C'est une peine de 3 à 10 ans et un amende de 100 à 500 000 francs CFA. Aujourd'hui, l'année passée, nous avons lancé la campagne Tolérance Zéro. Le gouvernement a lancé cette campagne-là qui doit se tenir de 2018 à 2020, un grand programme qui a commencé. C'est pas l'action des jeunes, c'est parce que les jeunes se sont levés, ils ont dit, mais l'engagement, il faut que vous le maintenez. Les jeunes au Bénin jouent quand même un grand rôle. Par exemple, il y a 2 mois, nous sommes dans la veille citoyenne. On a le cas de Rihanna, qui est une fille de 14 ans, qui a été mariée par ses parents avec la complicité des autorités. Il y a des autorités locales qui étaient complices de cette... Et dès que nous avons été informés, surtout notre coordinateur, on est désolé qu'il ne soit pas là. Il est venu jusqu'en Malaisie à l'aéroport, mais à cause de quelques difficultés, il est reparti. Mais dès qu'on a été informé, on s'est mobilisé sur les réseaux sociaux, on a partagé l'information, on a fait des pressions sur les CPS, les centres de promotion sociale, et la fille a été récupérée. Elle a été récupérée de son mariage et nous sommes en train de travailler à son intégration. C'est tout juste pour dire que nous avons ce défi au niveau de Girl Not Bad Fille Pas Épouse. C'est que les jeunes, on doit donner plus de voix aussi aux jeunes francophones parce qu'il y a tellement d'initiatives, parce que dans nos panels, on ne voit véritablement que des anglophones. Mais il y a aussi des initiatives en Afrique francophone. Les jeunes francophones font beaucoup de choses. Et c'est ça ce que je voulais dire. Et ce matin, en venant, je voulais porter autre chose, mais je me suis dit qu'il fallait que je vienne avec un message. C'est pour ça que j'ai porté mon t-shirt Youth Power. Il y a un pouvoir dans la jeunesse. Et il faut qu'on l'utilise pour transformer et éradiquer le mariage des enfants. Merci beaucoup.
No, merci beaucoup. C'est bien apprécié. Et, you're completely right. And I just wanted to also shout out Isa, just because there are so many Francophone youth and just Francophone people, we don't want to get that lost. And I'm sure there's similarities and also differences in those approaches. So thank you again. Any other questions from the audience? We have, let's say, 10 minutes and many people. So, headphone? Oh, okay. If we could also supply headphones for our panel, just in case we have any more French-speaking questions. Okay, yes, you may go. In the headphones. Right behind you. And then after this one, maybe we'll take them in group and then summarize. Just so everyone gets a
Merci
chance.
de m'avoir accordé la parole. Je suis Jean-Baptiste de la République démocratique du Congo. Et j'ai bien suivi.
Attendez, s'il vous plaît.
Ok.
Okay. Oh. Pardon. And thank you for those who contributed earphones. Okay, allez-y.
Ok, je disais que je suis Jean-Baptiste de la République démocratique du Congo. Et j'ai bien suivi les exposés de nos deux jeunes qui sont devant nous. Et je voulais seulement compléter une chose. Vous avez parlé de filles et de garçons. Maintenant, ce que je voulais contribuer, il faut aussi penser aux parents. Parce que l'éducation de base fait en sorte que les jeunes fassent au moins, nous présentent au moins un bon résultat pour tout ce qu'ils font. Et donc, parmi vos projets là-bas, il ne faut pas ignorer justement l'approche aussi des parents. Veillez aussi penser aux parents pour que les parents aussi contribuent dans vos actions, comme nous le faisons chez nous aussi, en République démocratique du Congo. Et ça sera au moins une contribution de notre part pour vos activités. Merci.
Okay, merci. So to remember the parents, as we say, over 30s, as we are always looking at youth under 30s. Thank you so much. So in the interest of time, if anyone has a question, we'll take, let's say, 3 in a row, and then our panel will then summarize. So here, and, I did see you earlier, so in the head wrap. Please proceed to the microphone. Yeah, you can all please approach the microphone, and then we can summarize the questions. Thank you very much. I know it's tight.
Oui, merci. J'ai pas tout suivi, mais le peu que j'ai dit que j'ai pas tout suivi. Je viens du Bénin, comme le jeune qui a parlé tout à l'heure, et je voulais aller dans les médias, mais on m'a dit il n'y a pas il n'y a pas traduction, voilà. Et donc je suis passé ici. J'ai été heureux d'avoir suivi 2 personnes qui ont dit de bonnes choses. Mais la question, la première partie, c'est ce que mon ami du Congo a soulevé. La participation, je crois que tout le monde peut faire la théorie de la participation, les échelles de participation. Théoriquement, nous savons cela. Mais je voudrais, première question, est-ce qu'il est arrivé que des jeunes aient pris des initiatives, soit aller voir les grandes personnes, les politiques et consorts, pour que ces actions-là soient soutenues? L'initiative des jeunes eux-mêmes, c'est vrai, il a donné l'exemple du Bénin. La deuxième chose, c'est la participation commence par la famille. Si je prends l'Afrique, nous avons beaucoup de personnes qui n'ont pas été à l'école, et quand on parle de participation, c'est toujours très compliqué parce que là-bas, les gens d'un certain âge n'ont pas pu parler devant leurs parents parce que un enfant ne parle pas. Et quand on est dans un monde comme celui-là, il y a un effort important à faire. Je ne sais pas si au Bangladesh, le pays d'où vient...
Kabia.
oui, si, je crois que c'est l'Afrique, hein, si ça a évolué dans ces deux pays-là, et qu'est-ce qu'on fait justement pour que, à partir de la famille, la communauté soit impliquée et ensuite les professionnels, les institutionnels aussi, parce que ça doit passer par ces échelles-là pour qu'un plus grand nombre de personnes s'impliquent, beaucoup plus de jeunes s'impliquent. Mais je veux dire une chose qui peut faire rire, mais c'est vrai. S'il y a une chose très indisciplinée, c'est l'affaire du sexe. Les gens n'ont pas souvent le contrôle sur cette question de sentiment. Et du coup, je ne sais pas si, parce qu'au Bénin, on fait tout cela, mais j'ai dit dans une autre conférence que la grossesse en milieu scolaire est devenue une catastrophe là-bas. Est devenue une catastrophe. Et c'est ça qui débouche justement sur des mariages inattendus, parce que certains parents pensent que c'est une chance pour eux d'avoir leur fille qui s'est accrochée à un professeur, d'avoir leur fille qui s'est accrochée à un gendarme qui est chargé justement de faire respecter la loi, mais qui, dans ce domaine-là, alors comment est-ce que les jeunes réagissent par rapport à ça?
Okay, merci. Merci. And the next question, please. We'll keep that in mind. Again, they'll respond to all of them at once.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you very much, all panelists. This was really interesting, and I'm so glad I chose to be in this session. Two quick questions. First, if you can give us an example when you have been able to use a technology-based platform or any other use of technology to mobilize youth. And second, what do you think you'd like to list as one of your biggest success in using the power of youth to make a lasting change? Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And the last question.
Thank you. Congratulations to the young leaders for a wonderful insight and the great work you're both doing. My name is Isatou Jang. I'm from the Girls Agenda, the Gambia, the same organization. With Isatou, I'm not asking a question. I'm just going to add to what Isatou said in response to her question with regards to engaging boys separately with girls at some point in the projects of the Girls Agenda. In working on issues, especially sensitive issues affecting young people, especially of child marriage, FGM, and other related issues, you have to understand the dynamism of the society you're operating in. Like the Gambia is over 90% Muslim, and you have to also understand the cultural barriers in which you operate. In whatever work you are doing is to impact lives and achieve desired results that will have sustainable solutions for young people. So if you bring boys and girls together in one room and you realize that the girls don't talk until the end of the activity, what change are you impacting in their lives? So it's important for you to understand the dynamism, separate them. At some point you bring them together, but then they're already empowered. They can be able to talk in front of those boys and men. But at some point, you have to bring them alone, empower them so that they have the right information to be able to air their views and make concrete decisions about their lives before you bring them together. So we do that holistic approach in the work we do. We train different target groups separately and then later bring them together so that when they come together, they'll be able to participate meaningfully like the other sex is participating. So that's how we work. But we engage everyone. We engage boys, we engage girls, we engage parents, we engage all sectors in the work we do holistically. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isatou. So we'll give our panelists the impossible challenge of responding to all of these questions in less than a minute. I'm going to start with Isatou. I know, Shaikat's like, this is impossible. But we'll
Thank
start with
you.
Isatou.
I know we...
Oh. Thank you for the reminder. So sorry. And whose earphones did we take on this side? Great, sorry about that. You'll get to hear the responses.
Thank you. Since we're running out of time, I'll just keep it brief. In response to the question that was talking about the Gambia, how do we just work with boys and young people but don't engage parents? And parents are the people, sometimes the family That's where everything starts. We engage parents. Almost most of the organizations in the Gambia engage parents, they engage adults, they even engage politicians, but at different level. At the beginning, I talked about how we engage women leaders. They are politicians. Some organizations engage people from local councils, others engage people from parliament, different issues based on what they're working on. So we engage everyone. And the question that talks about the issue of teenage pregnancy, like parents fear their girls will be pregnant, that's why they send them for marriage. That's a big issue, but I think it's not a good justification, personally. Because the reason why those girls get pregnant, it's not because they receive sex information, it's because they don't receive the information. If you empower a girl, you provide her with the information, adolescent girl, to understand how to prevent herself. You provide her with sexual and reproductive health services. That adolescent girl will do all means possible to make sure she don't get pregnant. I think if we provide adolescent girls with sexual and reproductive health information and services, the rate of teenage pregnancy will go down and the rate of child marriage will go down. But if we feel like we don't give them the sex information, they're gonna go pregnant if they receive sex information, the fact is it's going to contribute to the numbers. Because in the Gambia, many people don't receive sex information and teenage pregnancy is going high. People that receive it sometimes don't get pregnant. So I think the correlation, it's a big debate, but it's not because of the sex information that the adolescents receive. That's why the parents fear they would get pregnant and send them for marriage. And on the issue of the final...
You have 5 seconds.
Okay, I will just answer one and leave Shaikat to answer the other one. That's on how we use social media. Young people in the Gambia use social media a lot, and because of that, we engage young people in our work through social media. One way we do it is Facebook, Twitter. We also produce songs. Some organizations do that. I talked about it earlier that our sister organization engage artists where they produce albums on gender-based violence and put it on YouTube. That's one way that we engage social media. We also engage traditional communicators in the Gambia where we produce songs in local languages on child marriage and FGM. That was the project funded by the Girl Generation, which we put on SoundCloud. So we use social media a lot, and we feel like because Gambian youths are on social media, that's why we're using it.
Excellent. Thank you, Isatou. And so, Shaikat, for you, we have biggest accomplishment, and whatever you can answer in 60 seconds.
No. Okay. So I'll go from the last question, which is any technology that we used. Yes, in our programs at SERAC, we tried to capture the way young people can get the messages most effectively. So menstrual regulation, which is in other words we call abortion. The access to abortion is legal in Bangladesh in the name of menstrual regulation, but however the stigma around that is so high that only the married young people should get services as per the government regulations. So, however, when people, especially young girls and young women, they get pregnant, where do they go? And they actually go and tell them they're married, which is a false or falsifying their identity. This is not justified because accessing their right and their services. So we thought like, okay, let's do, and the stigma from the young people towards young people is so high, because when they talk to another young person, oh my God, you got pregnant and you are now doing abortion? It's a sin and you're going to hell. Okay, fine. That person then couldn't go for the services, and the frustration and everything around. At one moment, that young lady or young girl, she committed a suicide. And then again, everyone coming up and saying, she has gone to hell. Look, taking service, I'm going to hell, and I'm dead, and then I'm going to hell. I don't know where is the heaven here, because if people deprived of services they need when it's time for them, there are a lot of things that prevent them. So we created a mobile application. It's a game you can find on Play Store as well. But today it will be updated because of the logo was a bit hazy, and we had a big story of struggle in making that, because the guy who was developing, and in the middle of that he went to pilgrimage and came back and he said, "Oh, I'm not going to finish it." I said, "Oh, okay." Now we had to hire the second person. Second person finished it, but at the end he got motivated again. "No, I'm not going to give you the raw file." Okay, so all these struggles are overcome now, but it took a long time. And I thank our partners, especially Inroads and IPAS. They supported us, trusted us. Like, these are the situations, and they also say, like, their websites are also, sometimes the developers, do not cooperate. So we use technology, but SERAC focuses on the gaps where people mostly do not go, do not talk. So we go there where people fail, where we failed, I said. So that's why, and social media is all around there. And I don't think any of our 5,000 people do not have a social media or anything. Maybe they don't have a Twitter, because in Bangladesh, people are not much familiar with Twitter, but they are on the Facebook. So that's one thing, the biggest success. Can I accomplish? Okay, fine. 2 seconds. Gone. So the biggest success that I feel is understanding young voices. Understanding. The biggest success, people translate into awards, into grants, into blah and blah. But what we feel in SERAC is understanding the community that we are working with. So we do not call it working for, we call it working with. We understand them. We value what they say, and what we say, we translate. We try to translate our voices and also translate their ones into our programming. So this is the biggest success. And we could do this until maybe last couple of years, because we have been failing in somehow, because we couldn't understand what they are actually, we can bring hundreds of people, they attend events, they go back, but in the end, when we measure the success, somehow the message we wanted to send out didn't properly communicated. So the last message is, young people, if you want to be advocates, be a communicator first, and be strategic communicator. That's where your success lies. Thank you.
No, thank you. Such an important point, and I don't want this conversation to end, but unfortunately we're nearing that mark. So to continue the conversation, I'd say engage. Speaking of technology on social media, you can use the handle @YouthDeliver. I know Girls Not Brides has hashtags. If you didn't get a chance to ask your question, speak with the panelists. They're here, accessible and awesome. And I'd also like to just do a small plug. At Women Deliver, we're all about convening youth, advocates, organizations, a whole host of players. So if you want to meet more young leaders like these, join us in Vancouver on June 3rd through 6th, and we have our Women Deliver Global Conference. So thank you so much for taking time out to attend this panel. Feel free to go on Slido to fill a survey. And I know Shaikat left us on a great high note, but if each of you could just take a moment, one sentence takeaway you would like our audience to leave with before they go for their coffee break.
I would say that young people are capable, they have the potentials, they're trustworthy. Let the world invest in young people and they will see real change. Continue the push, let the fight go. Forward ever, backward never.
Excellent. Yes, Isatou. And Shaikat, final mic drop.
No more advices for the young people. They have a lot in their bags from the conference, from the posters and everywhere, from Isatou as well. From me, I do not advise the young people, but I urge the elders and the seniors and the mentors. Please support them. Please believe in their ideas. They could be fragile. They could be, that not that matured. But if you do not support them grow up, they will never grow up. just support them and believe in it. Look at that. You can never expect a tree to be raised up by a day, grow. Yeah. So you have to put time on, and at the same time you have to create the environment. So believe in them, trust in them, invest in them. And the last thing about the Girls Not Brides meeting I can say is, I feel this is like a global friendship for child marriage. Young people treat it like a global friendship for ending child marriage. So not global partnership. Friendship works stronger.
Thank you. Well said. So thank you all for coming, and thank you to our panelists.